Hi everybody! Making a cake is a journey. It starts with just a simple cracking an egg and finalizes with a couple of finishing touches, adding some decorations on the cake, and then we say it's finished, and then we put it in the box, and then for the delivery or pickup or presenting to our friends in our place or whatever. Alright, so this journey is what we're talking about today. Has got three different sections, three main subjects. The first section is the baking the cake and then making the right cream and sandwich that cake into the condition. So the next step, what we're going to do, we're not going to struggle. So the firmness, the cream, the texture, everything, the height and everything is to be correct that we can continue with our work. I just want to bypass the second section. The last section is the decorating the cake. What is it? And then when the cake is completely coated with perfectly with the fondant, we're adding things on it like ornament, decorations, figurines, etc. So, but we have this center part, which is I also divide into three. One is the masking the cake, rolling the fondant properly, and coat the cake with fondant. So I would like to say, and I would like to admit that we make a lot of tutorials in the yenersway.com online cake art tutorials. And then these tutorials actually starts from that point that cake is ready on the table, coated with fondant. We add in decorations and we show you how to decorate this cake. Mainly, we have some also three-dimensional cakes in between where we also touch the cream and sponge and everything. But really, we're not really emphasizing that part. And then why we do that? Because we assume that you already know how to mask, how to coat the cake and everything. So we just like to go for wrongly say more important part, which is actually also important, the center part here, what we're going to talk today. So I would like to concentrate in this tutorial how to mask the cake. Which is the first part of these three sections in the middle. As I said, masking, rolling the fondant, and coating the cake with fondant. So you know, there is a say, I always hear that, if you have a beautiful body, whatever you wear, it will suit on you. How correct is that? So I like to change this one. It is like your fondant coating will be as good as your masking finishing. So how true is this? So if you don't do the perfectly coating the cake with the cream and then make this masking part correctly, so you cannot fix that problem what you do on that stage with just coating the fondant and pushing, trying to make it straight. So it's important. And then what I like to do now is I like to bring the tools and material in front of you and talk about also how to choose the right tools and material to make that masking correct. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you three different kind of masking. Doesn't mean that this is the only way of masking, but this is my preferences, and I believe that these three different ways will give you a good possibilities that you can just really make a variety of things with that. These are the tools and material that covers that three different ways, so I'm not specifically separating them, whichever it is belongs to which one. So let me start from the turntable. I am sure that you have already, if you are decorating cakes previously, you have some sort of turntable at home or in your place. So I guess that what you have here, like the classic heavy-duty cast iron, like heavy underneath, and then you have the platform about 15 centimeter higher from the table, and then probably like also can bending different kind of angles. They are all good. So if you get used to that kind of turntable, please go ahead and use it, because I don't want you to change your style, change your way to do things uncomfortably. Having said that, we should think about two different ways of using turntables. Some turntables are good for decorating the cake, which is the height wise, because we can bring the cake at the height of what we wish. And then some turntables has to be low, that when we masking the cake, it has to be low on the table, as low as possible, so we don't have to really go too much high with our arm to when we paletting that cake. So if I have lower turntables like this, I can bring it in as high as I wish. I can just put like container of fondant or something, and then I can bring it to hide that in my eye level, like especially I decorate the sideways. And if I have a only high turntable, I cannot bring it down because I cannot lower my table at the same time. So that's why I'll give you some examples that what I choose. One of them is like the simple, cheap, economical florist turntable. There's the two sides exactly the same, but one side has got this plastic little rubber knobs that which is lock this on the table, and then the top part, when I place my masking board like this, it's a bit slippery. It's not going to be good. So that's why I'm using some non-slippery mats that I cut in round shape. When I place over here, it's perfectly okay, so I can mask my cake on top of that surface. What else I have here? Secondly, I have Chinese Lazy Susan, it's called. It turns very loose. That's the good thing and bad thing at the same time, because when I turn the cake to decorate on different sides, it just go away. I have to just hold it with my hand. That will be probably is a kind of like a downfall of it. But at the same time, the surface is so clean and flat, so I can clean nicely. I can even cream the cake on top for some cases. That's fine. Another thing is I have over here. It's my heavy-duty turntable. For some time ago, we've been decorating our home and then do some renovation at the kitchen. So we have a marble slab, and then we also bought a round sink. And then the guy who is dealing with this marble, he cut a round piece out from the marble that where the sink gonna go in. So when I see that piece just on the side, just the bulb is on, and then I think that this could be serve me very nicely for turntable, because the simple reason is the weight. When I turn this one like that, you see it just continue for a while, that my motion of turning will continue, completing the complete circle around the cake. So I can actually turn like this, and then constantly, you see, when I have a break, it doesn't stop, it just continues turning. It gives me very nice and smooth scraping the side without any interruption. So what I did is I put this on the side. I go to hardware store and I purchase myself a Lazy Susan wheel, which is produced for to making a large table Lazy Susans, big heavy wooden stuff. So I installed this one into a wood with a couple of screws, and I put this on the table. I don't even need any kind of non-slip thing. It stays nicely here, and that is my most preferred turntable. So anyway, there's just some ideas that you can choose, whatever you like to choose. Next thing is I like to talk about the palette knife. So for some cases, I see people using that bended palette knife for doing this. How inconvenient, because you have to go, first of all, you see this is straight, and then straight again, just lift up like this. You have to bend yourself another 15 degrees like this to make it this plate is straight, because that has to be straight, all right? So it's very hard to control. If you do that also, then also it's some reason that I don't feel comfortable with that. So I think it's just the wrong choice to make the masking using that palette knife. For some parts, yes, maybe for the top, but basically my preference is this. Flat palette knife is about 20-25 centimeter long, and then has got kind of very straight surface. But when I look at it like this, you see that slightly bending, because of the usage, that maybe I just use always this way, that's why it's bent a little bit, but it just somehow that this incorrection helps me to do different things. So as you see over here, this is concave and this is convex. So I will use that wrong situation for some other purposes that I will explain you later on. All right? I have here towels, which is very clean towels. I will make it one of them wet, one of them dry. There's a good reason for that. My scrapers. So this is the serrated scraper for giving texture, but this is not actually what we're going to worry about today, because we want to achieve nice and flat, smooth surface. Second thing I have is the metal scraper. That is good for some purpose. For example, I can clean the sides with the cream like that. It's good, but when I put it like this on the surface, like that, it's not really straight. You see, It's not really stiff because this piece over here, just a couple of millimeters, it takes me away from that 90 degrees. It will be like that. And also the round corner, it's not really serves me exactly what I'm looking for. So another thing is that scraper, also not good because this is good for taking the cream put on the cake, but not for the side or for the top. That is not bad in a sense because of the straight and then 90 degrees corner. I will use that for small cakes probably. And this is a better scraper for the sides. I was not happy with that because the corner was a bit roundish, so I used the scissor and cut this one completely 90 degrees here. That serves me quite correct. And also like the straightness over here is quite long enough that I can put on the surface and adjust my 90 degrees on the corner like that and turn after that like this slowly. If I'm using scrapers for higher cakes, it's nice to have something like this. A stainless steel, heavy duty, firm and high, and I can do it in that one with the high cakes. So basically what I'm saying is you cannot just have one scraper who does everything. You must have like a variety of scrapers and then using for different purposes. I have also a piece of plastic over here, like perspex, cut from perspex, 90 degrees here. That serves me for some other purposes. And then also I have, which is the actually painter scraper. Maybe just like plaster work. It is a metal, nice and clean, so it doesn't get rusty. I clean this all the time. So I use that. I actually have a bit handle here. I cut this off and then I will use it like this. Very useful. And also this part is quite straight. I can put it on the surface and then I get this my 90 degrees texture as much as I need. Cake boards out of cardboard I have. Why is that? Because we have to have the cakes masked on the final board what we present. So it is quite necessary to avoid to mask in one place and lifting up and bring it to somewhere else later on. For the cases that, for example, we have 3-tier wedding cake, first tier we can put it on the original board, but the second tier we cannot, so we cannot help it. So we have to just then chill the cake in the fridge, make sure it's hard enough, then we can lift up. So main thing is try to make the cake as much as you don't have to on the original board that you present. Let's say these are the boards that, for example, my final boards. So it is 9mm wooden boards covered with the velvet, and I also put extra cellophane sheet on top to protect from the ganache, so I can finish cake over here and coat the cake also over here. It's nice to have these preparations before you start masking. And of course, that is already explained, the non-slippery mats that I cut. And these are the perspex round sheets. You don't give this one to your customers because you need it always in your kitchen. And then it's nice to have them. If you don't have them, please try to get some of this. This round cut of PVC, very thin PVC, and also cellophane sheets, it's necessary for one method that I'm going to show you later on. So if you don't get this PVC one, it's not very easy to get, and you can also use this cellophane sheet, does the same thing, very similar thing, but I prefer that PVC. So that's all what I want to say about the tools and material. When we come to the action, we will talk about more that why and how. One more thing I forgot here, there is a PVC stripe. For one technique, I like to show you how to create the crust cake, crust coat on the side of the cake with chocolate. I'm going to use one of the methods of crust coat, this PVC sheets that I have it always in the big roll here. So if you don't have it, you can also use just a cellophane sheet or some sort of similar plastic thin material that you have to cut exact the size of the side of the cake. Get ready for this. Okay, now I'm going to clear up now, bring all the recipes and ingredients, which is actually nothing else than just the cake and ganache. Recipes wise, yes, I have only ganache and cake, but I have one more ingredient here, which is the compound chocolate, and I'm going to use it for crust coat. So sorry about that wrong statement just now I said. There's one more item here. This is the cake. Let's talk about the cake part separately than everything else. So what is the right cake? You have to choose the right cake for that event, because we're talking about today is the masking, but we have to mask the right cake that the masking will work. All right. So mud cake, white mud cake, butter cake, fruit cake, something like along the same direction, like a firmer sponge cakes, will be right to use for that event type of situation that the cakes will stay a couple of hours in room temperature. So what I do is I take a 600 gram of mud cake mixture and make them into the silicone molds, about 250 millimeter wide. For that amount is 600 gram. So I bake individual sheets. It gives me about 20 to 25 millimeter height. And I put in between, just a layering, 2 sponge with the cream in between, the ganache in between. It gives me that preparation blocks, which is about 50 height and 250 width. And then I put them right away in the freezer. That's why I bake them into individual sheets. So I don't have to bake the big high cake and cut in two, because I can't just cut a hot cake or just a baked cake. So as long as I bake the cakes in this height, bring it to the room temperature, already ready to touch a little bit, and then put a nicely ganache in between, which is probably produced in the morning, in the afternoon in the right condition, or just produced the day before at night, and then next morning is the right condition. Because the ganache is just, if you cook is liquid, later on become harder. You cannot just scrape. My preference is bake the sponge and then get the ganache ready, pourable condition, but not so like liquid running condition, just like a sloppy kind of like a pulpy condition. Pour it inside with the ladle, and then it just runs itself when you push the next sponge on it, and then push together. My preparations are ready and I freeze them right away. So because I want to keep that moisture, I want to keep that freshness right away, I lock that freshness in the freezer quickly. So what is the wrong cake? There is no wrong cake actually. The only troublesome cake, if you use like a soft sponge, soft cream, mousse, fresh fruit, and then like a kind of like a very soft mixture of custard cream and fresh cream mixtures, all those things taste beautiful, good, but it's for the cake that you put it in the fridge and take it out right away and then serve it. That's fantastic. And then you can't make this high cakes with that. So because the weight will be just like too much to hold underneath, it will be just go on the side, it will be trouble. So that's the cake all about. So, but when it comes to the ganache, I don't freeze the ganache. For the masking purpose, either I do the ganache in the morning and in the afternoon start doing it, or I do it night before. Next morning it will be nice and creamy. I use that freshly. I do it always small amount for that day need. You must be wondering, what does this container look like? Because this looks a bit messy and etc. But this is a very useful technique for me. I take the containers of fondant or any kind of jam container or something and cut them with a heavy duty scissor, exactly the height of the microwave. And I place everything together, chocolate, cream and the butter, and then keep it in the microwave for about 10 minutes. It will be hot enough that everything combined together and it will be just all right. Normally when you do ganache, of course, you cook the cream and then you put the chocolate inside and then cream will melt the chocolate. It's all good. But I use that method if I need to have a larger amount, not a smaller amount. Now this cream is about right condition, but still a bit firm because it's way too long in room temperature. So I'm going to take it out, put them in a glass bowl like this, and then back in the microwave for just a few seconds. I'll show you when the time comes. So compound chocolate, preferred chocolate because I don't need to temper, and I just need to use a very small tiny crust which gives the firmness around the cake. So that's why I don't need to have a couverture. If you need to use couverture, if you want to use couverture, you can also use, of course, just the tempering nicely that the chocolate doesn't get sort of like a soft. It's because you can only get a crispy snap out of couverture if you temper properly, but not for the compound chocolate. Okay, so let's clear up now and start our first masking. The very first method I like to show you today is the method that I learned about 40 years ago from the chefs who has already 30 years of experience at least. So it was a very reputable place, Istanbul Hilton. And then we've been working about 25 chefs together. I was very fortunate to be in that spot as a beginner, and then learning from those kind of very experienced, maybe not formal educated, but very experienced chefs. So this method, the only method we've been using for everything, for wedding cake, birthday cake, for anything. So actually we didn't have any fondant that time. So I didn't know that fondant you can roll and cover the cake. We've been using fondant, but original fondant as a kind of like a white sugary paste that we temper it and make it liquid and pouring on the pre-coated cake with the marzipan or hazelnut paste, we call it. It's like we use the ground hazelnut mixing with the glucose and fondant, and then make it like a marzipan looking paste and cover in the cake because it was more economical. So I brought this method all the way with me, and I like to add it into my variation I want to show you today because it's a very original, very classic, and very quick and very practical. So if you ask me what kind of cakes would you like to use this technique today, in today's world, I'm not going to do it wedding and birthday cakes with that. But unless that you want to do something very basic, so you don't need to be very fussy, you don't need to be very straight. I just coat the cake reasonable good and then give a bit of chillness in the fridge, and then after that coat with the fondant quickly. So it doesn't need to be perfect, like a basic order. I'm not saying that basic cakes are bad looking cakes, but basic cake means that you don't have to coat 2-3 times, and then doesn't have to be too high. And then, so once you coat the cake with the fondant, you can just level with the fondant pusher. Reasonable good, because you're going to put probably like a picture on it, or like covering most of the areas with the ribbon and everything. So basically, this method I would use today for only for like a lower and then like a softer cakes. For example, like a counter cake. Let's say I finished the cake with ganache, and then I'm going to put some chocolate plaques or chocolate fans around, and I'm going to maybe fill up some chocolate shaving in the middle, or maybe almond flakes, roasted almond flakes on the side, coconut flakes, roasted coconut flakes on the side, or we're going to use some fresh fruit, some maybe like Black Forest rosettes, and then fill up with the chocolate shaving in the middle, maybe some compote, or this kind of cakes that which doesn't need to be perfectly smooth texture on the top. And also, like, purposely we can create that with that technique, like a rough looking quickly finishing cakes, that for a purpose, like it's also looking good. What would we call this, the method? So I never thought that I'm going to give a name for this, but if you ask me really to do that, I would say side first masking method. So because we do the side first, because basically that most of this kind of technique we use for softer cakes, we have to secure the sides a bit more firmness before we apply any kind of pressure on the top. I'm talking about like the cakes that is already room temperature. So you have to mask this one now. If the cake comes from the fridge, even that mousse cake is still a little bit softer than the mud cake, of course. So that's the kind of like needed. The side apply the cream on the side first to make the sides already secure before you apply the top. So let me just now condition my ganache into like a softer condition for a softer cake, imaginative softer, because this is a mud cake, so we don't have a softer cake. I'm going to use this cake as an example to show that method that which we use basically for softer cakes. So, as I said, the ganache is not in the it's nice and creamy, but it's not soft enough to go for that technique. So I'm going to take some of here and then put it in this glass bowl, and then give a little bit of heat in the microwave, and then make sure that it's now nice and soft, that I like to have it accordingly. Okay, that should be enough. Right. Microwave. Another 10 seconds. So let's see how it looks like. That looks not bad. So basically when you lift up here, it has to be like fall off. You know what I mean? It's not really standing on the spoon. It has to be lifted up and then it has to be slowly fall off. That's the kind of condition I'm looking for. Okay, let's get this one out of here. All right. Now, first thing to do is identify our palette knife. So as I said, this side is a concave and this one is a convex side. I'm going to use concave side this way to start already using it. So holding the palette knife is very important. You can't hold like this because this is not a sword, that's a palette knife. So you have to bring the palette knife like this around here and put your first finger here, and then make sure that this finger and that finger can control this motion, like this way and that way. So because when we're doing this, we're gonna go like that. We're gonna go like this. When we go this way, if we continue like that, we're gonna dive inside the cream. So we have to change it this direction like that. So what do we have to do? We have to serve that palette knife on the cream, not dive into the cream. So concave side, holding like this, and then pick up some of this ganache and then give some very thin coating without worry about the finishing, because the first coating what we're going to do is the crumb coat. Crumb coat means just sticking some bits and pieces on the surface so it doesn't disturb us again on the final coat. You see what I'm doing? Is I'm doing like this and like that, like this and like that. I'm using this two finger to manipulate that palette knife this way. I'm always holding the palette in the middle, not from here, all right? So that cake didn't need any crumb coat because no crumbs around, but I still want to show you. Now, the second thing is I want to use that top one again. And this time I'm going to using convex side. So I'm just taking just a little bit of ganache or a cream, that however you want to use, and then make sure that it's just like pushing that cream into the texture, not really try to finish it, all right? Again, concave side. I'm not using scraper yet. That's it. That's really the first crumb coat. So it's time now to do some cleaning. So we're going to clean my palette knife nicely, and also I'm going to get this cream also in the middle, because I need to have this clean corner that I can scrape my palette knife nicely. All right, let's go again exactly the same way. Concave side, and pick up this much of ganache and then target only about the 6-7 centimeter on the side, not more than that. And then don't mess up on the board. See, that's it, this much. Again. Again. Basically, I'm not grabbing some ganache and try to make it whole lot finish. Just divide that ganache this much around this much area, so you have a like equal thickness of a coat. And also when you're doing that, you go back and forward. So you just finish that, but go a bit backward, go a bit forward also from here. Again. You see, I have enough here ganache. I can continue to go around, but I like to have a certain thickness, because when I scrape it back again, I like to remove some, but whatever remains doesn't touch to my scraper should not touch to the sponge. That's it. So the side is ready, right? And then now they come to the top. So as you see that I have a kind of like vertical edge on the corner here going upwards. So I'm going to take now some of this ganache, right? Putting on top. Again, very controlled, about the same thickness like on the side. See that? Like this, like that, like this, like that. Don't dive into the cream. And make sure that top of the palette knife always clean. So what happened now is something different happened here. The edge become horizontal instead of vertical, so that we push actually vertical side to the down to the horizontal level. So next thing what we like to do is using the palette knife and then changing this one to again vertical level. Okay, just to easy the next step. All right, now is the time for using this. Because the cake is only 5 centimeters, we don't have to go really worry about this one, because it's quite easy to make it. You can see that 50 millimeters is quite understandable how is the corners. So I just place my palette here, my scraper, just go around slowly, and then my angle is here is about 45 degrees to that, all right? And then just go like this. Maybe just a second time needed, but not too many times, all right? That's it. Now, what has to be done now here? We have an airplane here. This airplane has to be landed on this surface, but it has to be just come here on this area and then scrape that ganache into the level of what we want, and then finish it off around in the middle. All right, just do this. Clean. Always clean the side. You can even use your fingers like this sometimes, right? And then once you're doing this, the palette has to be clean. So once you complete that all around, you can just go one more time where necessary. That's it. I'm not going to do nothing else than that. So my masking of this cake is ready. So the next thing is we have that on the side, a little bit of mess. So use that metal one. Just go slowly on the side here, cleaning up, but don't disturb the cake too much. All right. I'm just taking the excess, too much of the ganache, just like this. All right. Then after that, you may have a bit more cleaner towel, of course. After that, just touch here slightly. Just touch here slightly, and then our work is finished. So the masking of this cake is finished. The surface is still nice and soft. we can take the opportunity, just take this in the hand, instead of taking the whole cake in the hand, just take with the board in the hand and put some chocolate nibs or almond nibs or anything you like to put on the side, and you can just drop it like this. It will stay only remaining on the cake. We can even do some chocolate plugs or chocolate fans. Because it's now still nice and soft and sticky, we can just stick the plugs on the side and I fill up with something else, maybe chocolate shaving or something in the middle, as I said before. So that was the method I didn't want to miss to show you, but this is not the actual real method I like to use for wedding and birthday cakes. That's what I will do next for heavier, firmer and higher cakes. The second method I like to show you is the 100 height and 250 with mud cake. So before we put things together and start doing all this masking, I like to have a good last checkup before we take off. Alright, I place this heavy duty turntable in front of me at the right distance from my tummy, so I don't have to really go too far and then too back, so it is just a comfortable distance from your body. And then when you do that, you see that's just the right way to do. Alright, second thing is, that turntable is secure with this non-slip mat underneath, non-slip mat between the wood and the marble, and also non-slip mat in between cake board and then the marble slab. So I'm saying that marble slab, what I'm using as a turntable, is a very good idea, but you don't have to do that. You can just take this florist turntable, put it underneath this wood, will be okay. And also, as I said before, I'm using original board, that which we're going to be supposed to be that the original board that's going to be delivered like that, so I don't have to like carry on left and right. All right, so that's already check. And then the cake also exactly in the center, so you have to use your fingers to check. You can also use your, of course, some sort of ruler that comes this exactly in the middle. All right, your palette knife is ready. Every time you start masking, you have to start from the clean palette knife. My ganache is conditioned. The rest of the ganache I put in also reconditioned. Also clean that side, very important, because I need that cleanness to get this one rightly done. So I'm going to use now 2 scraper what I have available, because just logically that I trust this corner more than the other one, because I have just a little bit space over here, so I can just get slightly bending like that and scrape my icing I scrape my ganache later on. I make sure that this is exactly 90 degrees, and after I remove that excess ganache, I'm going to use this one to make it correct and really nice and smooth, because this is very nice and thin and scraped very nicely without taking too much, just like dividing nicely around. All right, so go back to this marble turntable. As I said, you don't have to do it, but if you take a trouble and order something like this, I am sure every time you use it, you will remember me, because it is really nice, very comfortable to work with. Because when you're turning like that, you see that it's kind of like you are doing actually like a pottery, you know, like the pottery people, that they have this turntable in front of them, they put the clay in the middle and then just pull it at a nice wise, and then only they can do this nice work if they have that nice turntable, like a heavy duty. Because when you're turning, you see it doesn't stop, it just like gives you extra power, that automation, some sort of thing. Like, so what we're going to do now, we're going to take this cake and stick it over here with using a little bit of ganache. Sometimes what I do, it's quite an interesting idea. I'm going to use sometimes in very high cakes, which especially doesn't have any kind of internal support inside, I use chocolate in the middle. So that chocolate is about, let's say about 2 millimeter. It's not really that some kind of like resistance to cutting the cake, but it gives a nice connection, because chocolate in the middle here, and then connect with the crumb after the crumb coat, connect with the side crust coat, and then it's acts like a high-rise apartment buildings, like the floors and ceilings and the walls at the same time. It creates a kind of like a higher the blocky kind of power and strength. All right. So, but it's only if we don't use any kind of internal support. And if you use dowels inside, even that chocolate thin skin, it will place that dowel and then hold the dowel in that exactly same spot, doesn't move left and right. So just make a decision now. I like to take this cake and stick it over here, but still have a last chance. When you look at this cake like this, you can see this slightly, because we don't do everything 100%. I can see that this side is a little bit higher than this side. Okay, let's get this one high side here. Take this in the hand. Take this in the hand. Just check it. Okay, this side is higher. So I'm going to put this side here, and then also decide that I want to have this side on the top or this side on top. This is better. I like this side on the top. Okay, so I'm gonna stick this one now here, and then I'm gonna give a coat, crumb coat it's called, and not to worry about side first or the top first. It doesn't matter, because that kind of things we're gonna worry about at the end. Okay. Okay. Once I glue it, it's still going around left and right. So check. Don't wait too long, and then make sure that it's on top of it nicely, and then turn the turntable. See it again. Move around. Make sure that it is nice and flat, and also like in the top, not completely level. Push a little bit, and then double check again. Everything is perfect. All right. I mean, not perfect, but quite good. All right. So let's give a kind of crumb coat here before we worry about the crust coat. As I said, nothing to worry about side or top. I'm just going to start from the top. Very thin. The aim is sticking all those bits and pieces on the surface doesn't disturb us anymore. And very thin. See, I'm pushing all those crumbs together on the surface. Okay. On the side, no? So the crumb coat has got two purposes. One is sticking all the bits and pieces to the surface, so it doesn't disturb us anymore. At the same time, if there's some gaps that fills nicely, and then just like that, before you paint the wall, you have to close all those holes in the wall, right? The same thing. Okay. Let's do this. So this is only crumb coat for two things, as I said, sticking all the crumbs, bits and pieces on the surface, and also filling up some gaps, mountains and rivers. All right. So next thing now, I like to put this in the fridge for a few minutes. In the meantime, I melt my chocolate for a crust coat. Before I do this crust coat action, I would like to explain you one more time what is this all about, crust coat? Why we do that? What's the reason? So the crust coat is actually between the crumb coat and final masking coat, a kind of extra strength skin that it's like a outer skeleton, I would call, to give a cake a kind of strength that if the cake stays too long in room temperature, internally can get softer, but the chocolate will get softer a lot later than the cake. So that's why it will help to maintain the cake shape without any sort of like a wobbling out or cracking or something like this. It will just give a kind of strength to the outer of the cake. The second thing is, while the cake is cold, while it's nice and firm, that chocolate inside the skin area will give an extra opposite resistance when we coat the cake with fondant and pushing with the leveler. That pushes doesn't really go inside, only just become effective on the surface of the fondant. It will make our movement much more effective. It's just like a function of ironing table. When you ironing your clothes, that you have a nice table underneath to have this ironing effective, right? That's the reason. So let's do that. I'm going to show you one method now. After this finish, I'm going to talk about or show you a little bit more about different methods. All right. So I take this metal scraper and I wear this one side surgical glove, because once I do this, have some sort of vertical extensions here, I'm going to put that level again. All right. Just dip it. You see that both sides is chocolate. Only one side clean like this, and then just go around like that. And then every time when you do that, make sure that you finish your action. Don't leave any kind of bumps and little bubbles around, because this will never get flat again. Very easy. Only you have to be careful. Only you have to do this aerial, not everywhere at the same time. Scrape this out, and after that, divide it. Just spread around. Couple of times. You can only have a chance to just go a couple of times. You cannot go, see that this one is too much, and just make it flat here. Right? Make sure you're not messing up too much on the board here. You see, chocolate getting so quickly hardened, so you don't have much chance to do it too many times on top of each other. I mean, you can scrape again on top of each other, but you cannot go to too many times over and over for that spreading action. All right, so this is too much. I'll just take it this one inwards like this. All right. All right, now give us a little bit of also on the top. Make sure that the connection on the corner exists. So this connection actually gives you that chance to make it corners are really cornery, just not too so roundish. If you wish to have it roundish, of course, it's the other story. But if you want to make a cake like really cornery, so you must have a really nice crust on the corner. That's it. My crust coat is now finished. Just check one more time. Not too much of like a spiky bits around. And then just go also around here. If there's any dripping of chocolate here, just clean up nicely. All right. That's it. Now I'm quite happy with this one now. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to clean up nicely again, and then talk about a few more words about the crust coat, what else you can do for that. I would like to stay on that crust coat matter a few more minutes. So what we did over here, give that drummy kind of like a feeling, that which is really gives a kind of protection and keep the shape, as I said. Okay, but do you have to do it? No, you don't have to do it, because if you trust your cake is firm enough, it's okay. And also if the weather is correct, it's okay. And also like it's like you don't want to have another resistance to the knife that when people cutting, so it's fine. You don't do it. But I always do it, and I will have never regret about it. You know why? Because sometimes when we coat the cake, I'm sure you also realize it sometimes. Next day morning you come in back to your kitchen, there's a big bump on the side. It's like a tumor, and now we try to push it and patch it, etc. It's fine, because I realized that when we just shortcut and don't do it, we have these bubbles a lot more time. And then when we do chocolate coating like this, the crust coat, it is not happening. Almost not, never. All right. Let me tell you another two method that how you can do it. If you wear two surgical gloves, your body is 37 degrees. The chocolate will not going to set in 37 degrees. You just dip your hand into chocolate nicely, smear like this, and then just go on the cake slowly, and then get this crust coat done slowly, just keeping back to the chocolate. Do like this, go around nice and slowly. Don't make it too much, just a little bit at a time will be fine, no problem at all. Another thing which I like it very much, the only thing is that trouble, you must have this material. That is a PVC stripe. You can use something else as long as that has got sort of this kind of texture. It's kind of like a firmness, all right? So all what you have to do, you put this around and then make sure that is exactly measured. So as you see here, exactly the height, all right? And then just a little bit of overlapping here. It can be just go there, doesn't matter, all right? So it's not more than the cake. It could be just a millimeter less, doesn't matter, but not more than the cake, all right? So put this on the table, put a little bit of water here, like this on the table. And then you see that is naturally this curling this way. So this has to go like that, right? Stick it on the table. The water maintains very nicely on the table like this. Make sure it's everywhere, like that. Sorry, like this. So it is actually very nice, just like laminating. Put it on the table. It doesn't go anywhere. And you can use also some dry towel and clean up the rest of the water around here. And after that, you take a nice generous amount of ladle of chocolate, just put the chocolate around this area, and then you have a palette knife. This time you can use this one. This is a very good idea because there's a hand space underneath. Just go around with chocolate just once or twice like this. That's it, all right? And then before they get chocolate hardened, immediately lift it up. It doesn't matter, you have some chocolate in your hand, just go like that and then put around the cake like this and overlap and push. Really push, that chocolate sticks everywhere nicely like that. It gives a beautiful chocolate cover around the cake. So you can use the top after that either with palette knife or scraper or with your hands, doesn't matter. Then after that, once it's setting, it will, when you remove it, you have a beautiful shiny chocolate. You can even take it as a final coat on the side, so it's up to you. So this is how I do chocolate on the side of the cake as a crust coat, sometimes as a final kind of coat decoration ready. Next thing what we're going to do is we're going to give one coat of ganache as either a final or first final. So I will call this a prime coat or first final coat, all right? So I prefer always twice, because once I will make sure that there's no bumps visible over here from the chocolate imperfection. It is not straight, all right? I give it like a little bit thicker at the moment, like this, and then make sure that there's nothing is like a visible touching out or working out, something like this. And after that, give a little bit in the fridge, cool it down, and then give final coat. It becomes a lot better, all right? So let's clean up and do that first final coat. Before I apply the first final coat, I like to just go back to that plastic stripe for the side crust coating. So I have here standard sizes, especially heights is important. We're using 50, 75, 100 and 125. These four heights is basically our standard sizes. Of course we do higher than that, but if I have my standard sizes of 150, 200, 250, etc. So I pre-cut all those plastic stripes, and I use it, take it out, clean, put it at the side again, so I can reuse it. So you can also do the same thing if you have some standard sizes what you always use. So so that's avoid, of course, that just every time cut a new stripe for a new cake. That's the reason. All right. Now I like to apply on this method the top surface first. So for that reason, I like to name this one also a top first masking method. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the ganache and put it on the cake of the on top of the cake and make it perfectly finished, 100% finished, without worrying about the side. So after that, what we will have an excess ganache just horizontally going on the side. All right. So once we're applying the next minute to put the ganache on the side, the top getting hardened only on the surface area, but not on the excess area. The excess ganache will be still soft to join with the side applying a ganache also at the same time. So every time we will have a excess ganache on the corner, pre-coated areas on the top or on the side will have the guidance that scrape this out, remove that excess ganache little bit by little bit every time we do that, changing from top to side, side to top. All right. So that's actually basic principle, that the reason why I call this top first, because for me it's very important to have this top completely finished, that I can use that top surface as a guidance, that I can cut the excess ganache from side to the top, just cut over that finish surface. It's just like a landing strip, that when I landing with my palette knife or with my scraper, I can land this over that surface and then cut this excess ganache properly. So let's start without talking too much. So I just take my ganache here and apply to the top first. So as I explained before, see how I use my ganache on the top, and then using palette knife, just surfing, not diving. So the top of the palette knife, keep it as clean as possible. See how nice is that turntable? I can just turn like this, a little bit more. So in this method, we're going to use most likely more scrapers than the palette knives. So at this moment, the ganache is getting hardened slowly. So what I like to do, I'm going to take my large scraper and just go over it nicely and try to get this surface really straight. It's good for a first time, for a first coat. All right, now, as I explained you, that the top is nice and flat, all right? And then there's an excess ganache on the side. So as soon as that we apply, don't forget, this is the convex side of the palette knife. This is the concave side of the palette knife. Now, I take some, and again, put on the side, and not aim to go too far in there, just about maximum about 10 centimeters. And make sure that I'm holding my hand like this, have a good look at it, this is 90 degrees. See my ganache now, at the moment, what I'm applying on the side, is joining with the soft side of the ganache that I put on the top first. Okay, I have enough ganache on the side here. So now, as you realize that after just a few seconds, the top is getting nice and firm. So I don't want this to happen on the side. That's why I like to do it as quick as possible. So I take my plastic scraper, just go not too flat like this, a little bit more straight to use that area to maintain the 90 degrees, and just go around of it. And then excess ganache has to be removed. So we always apply more than what we need, and then we take it out after that. So beautiful. There's a little bit of dots and air bubbles and everything, but I don't really worry about it because I'm going to go with this one again, slightly, and then just try to close all those gaps. Okay. Now, next thing is, as you see that, there is an excess ganache now on the corners as vertical. So this is my airplane. I'm just going to go here and then touch and cut that ganache over that surface. You see that perfectly cornered here? All right. Every time I do that, I have to clean that. So that's actually a final action for the coat. I think it's quite important to emphasize again that the way how I did it first top, because I want to create that landing strip. So if I cut this again on the top here, and I have really good landing, and then the platform is ready to cut the excess ganache. So what will happen now is just go one more time to the side, just as slightly like this. Like that. And then one more time the top. So the edge become now again horizontal. Cut again. And some areas we can see that excess ganache a little bit more than other sides. So that one also remove one more time. Okay, that's done. So what we're doing now, I take this one, put in the fridge just a few minutes, and then recondition my ganache again, put just a couple of seconds in the microwave, and then make it soft again, and I do one more coat, which is final coat. All my tools are washed, hands are clean, and then the ganache is reconditioned, and then the cake is nice and cold. I just pick it up from the fridge, and then I do the same thing again, but this time I'm going to apply a little bit less ganache. Not that much, because we are almost in really 100% correctness here. So when we do that, we have to look at one more time is any gaps that missing some cream on it. So everything is almost there. Just about a little bit here, very small amount, that I have to close that gap. That's it. So go back to that scraper, nice and clean, and go one more time, just very slow. So that is pretty good. Slightly more here. That's it. Now, cutting that soft ganache on the corner in horizontal direction. Now, if you have a kind of some extra unused name cards or something, you just take it like this and then make a 100% corner here. So make sure that it's about this corner is really sharp, and put this over here, and then just go one more time on the edge here, that eliminate that extra extensions that left from that our last action what we did. So that's already 100% correct. While you're having that one, just a few more minutes passed, just go touch one more time, just remove that single very small lines, remove that. That's it. So our top first masking method now is finalized, it's finished. So that cake will have the welcome the fondant on top very nicely. So let's go for the next method, which is upside down. With this method I'm going to use 3 times 50 millimeter height and 20 centimeter, which is 200 millimeter wide round cake. So I already placed these 3 cakes together, stick them together with just a bit of ganache. So it's very crucial that if you have a cake like this height, you have to make sure before you apply any kind of any coat like cross coat, crumb coat, anything, you have to make sure the cake is straight and level. So in order to check that, what you do, you place a kind of platform on the top here like this, you put your water scale on top, you make sure that this bubble is in the center. So if not, because we didn't apply any kind of chocolate or something on the cake, you can still push a little bit the cake, manipulate a little bit of just by pushing to get this bubble in the center. Alright, that is good. So in the other side, to understand that cake is complete straight, you take your big long stainless steel scraper or something similar, make sure that this corner 100% 90 degrees, and then you put it on the side, you check in 4 corners. That is the 3 o'clock, 12 o'clock, correct, 9 o'clock, correct, and 6 o'clock, correct. So now I'm ready to coat this cake. Because I show you already how to make the crumb coat and crust coat, I'm going to do the exactly same thing to this cake, and I'll get back to you when I'm doing the final coating. With this upside down method, there is a couple of benefits. The first of all, that the method before, the top first method, we spent quite a lot of time and then quite a lot of attention to make this top side perfect. Because that the sides we can use the nice big scraper, but the top is like we have to go a lot of time back and forwards to get it right. So as you remember, that side's only one action to make it straight. So with this method, first of all, by just putting some ganache here, and I put it upside down, that part of the cake is already completely finished without worrying about nothing at all. The second thing is, as you remember that we did first final coat and second final coat to make it really everything perfect. With this one, most probably you can get along with only one coat, because that side corners at the bottom of the cake, which is going to be top of the cake, will be okay with one coat. So let me show you how to do that. So I have prepared some plastic sheets like this. Is a cellophane sheet, which is quite thin. You can do that, but I prefer that very thin PVC. It is much more suitable for that job. Put a bit of water here on the surface of that masking platform, all right, and then stick this one here nicely, all right, okay. And then what we do, we just take a bit of ganache here on the top of the cake, without worrying about how it's going to end up. Just this much. Okay, and also we do some ganache in here. So when I do that, see there is no air bubbles at all underneath. If I do ganache only here, put it upside down, there will be definitely a lot of air bubbles. All right, maybe a little bit more. Make sure that this is the surface-wise bigger than the cake. Okay. All right, because of the crust coat, I can hold it nicely. Put this down and then turn a little bit like this. Turn like that. So you have to just wait for a couple of minutes or seconds that this cake is not moving like this anymore. All right. So I will try anyway. I just start, but if you wait just a couple of minutes, it will be better. All right. So I just apply now the side ganache. Okay, I think I did enough. So just take out this ganache from top off. All right, the tool that I use is a one big straight stainless steel square. This could be also plastic, but as long as this has got this hardness, that's really, really rigid, okay? So I go like slowly. First of all, I don't take anything. I just scrape this around and divide it sort of nicely. I don't take anything off. Then take this off like this. Nice and clean. After that, go one more time. This time I press a little bit more. So when I scrape, when I do like this, I'm taking off. But when I'm turning the angle flatter, then dividing again. So I do that like by doing this is like a scraping, and after that I do this to dividing. So that dividing and scraping will bring the everywhere equal amount of ganache. Okay, the only thing that could be a failure here, just maybe a couple of holes and little bumps, but that will be quite easily fixed after we take the cake upside down again, after that resting for a while in the fridge. So I think we already done with that. So what I do, I just take this cake, bring to the fridge and wait for a while, and then show it to you later on. So I just take it out, my upside down method mask cake. As you see that there's a little problem. There's a little bit of flow out the ganache at the bottom here. So why is happened that? Because the cake was not cold enough when I was putting ganache on it. It was a bad thing about this has happened, but the good thing about when the cake is not that cold, so you can have more time to just go a couple of more times around and then get this ganache really distributed and make it nice and straight. So this little problem, you can just take a cornery scraper here and then just scrape this out slowly and carefully. That solves the problem very easily, because now as the body is cold, everything's sort of scrapeable nicely. Okay, one more time. Done. All right, next thing what we do is we take this board, which is already final board, we put this here like that and go to the side and then check that center lies or not. So that is good, that is good. Go the other side, that's too much, that's this way. Okay, that's good. So take this in the hand, very careful, and then turn it this way. And take this one slowly off. There we go. So if I would wait a little bit longer, I will have a much more shinier surface here. But you can just touch again this one, just a little bit. All right. So I show you today 3 different ways of masking the cake. So can we call this differently? Like for example, some people call ice the cake, or ganache the cake, or cream the cake, or frost the cake, all those things. Yes, you can, but I just select to call this masking. Now, is this the only 3 ways that you can do? No, we can do more other ways that I cannot fit into the video because I don't want to make it too long. So, but let me just tell you about them. So another method, what I do, sometimes if I'm too busy, I have too many cakes to do on the same day, I finish all my cakes with the crumb coat and crust coat. They are all cold in the fridge, and I have a plenty ganache on the side, really well tempered. Like it's not too liquid, it's not so runny, it's not also creamy like you have it seen today. It's just very sloppy, very soft. So I have a cold cake and soft cream. So let's call this soft cold. I take the ganache, one big ladle, put on the cake, quite plenty, and then just go around with the palette knife. The excess ganache goes around. Whatever fall on the side is enough to just get the scraper and then go around nicely. Because the body is quite cold, it works quite well. But the problem is you have to really worry about the softness of the cream, the coldness of the cake, and your speed. If you can adjust these 3, you will have no problem. It's not very easy. This method is probably more secure to work with. Another method, what I like to suggest, that double guide method. So what we do is we take There's quite a few times seen in the internet. Just put that plastic sheet, which is the exactly the size of what you want to achieve at the end. So put it here, bit of water underneath. So put your plastic sheet, exactly same size cut. Put your cake on top, and then another plastic. But before that, have some ganache. Push this in. Just some ganache comes out. Another plastic on top, exactly the same size. Make sure it's balanced exactly on the 90-degree here. And then you fill the gap in between with ganache. So the problem is you have to prepare your cake. Even that after the crumb coat, after the crust coat, if you want to make the crust coat, you have still some gap in between that you can fill. If it's too much, you have too much ganache on the side. If it's too little, you're also touching to the sponge. So it's quite essential that you have to make your cake, naked cake, correct size. So that was all about masking today. I will make another 2 tutorials between the naked cake till to the start decorating the cake. So it will be 2 more methods about how to roll the fondant. Another video I will do also another 2 methods of how to coat the cake with fondant. So these are the kind of videos that gives you an idea or solve all your questions and confusions before we carry on with the other decorating videos. If you're not watching this video from yenersway.com, from our website today, just go there please, check it out. What else we have? We have quite a few cake decorating videos. You can be free member or you can be financial member, it's up to you, but you will have still a lot of information, even just to register free of charge. So that's all from me today, guys. God bless you all, and thank you so much for watching me. It was a really pleasure for me to give you a couple of tricks. Maybe you can pick up a couple of beneficial ones. So till to the next one. Bye for now.